So it's about the halfway point in the Super Rugby 2018 season, and it's the time where we start to think about the playoffs. Some teams have already made their playoff positions pretty much secure by this point, and others are outside the playoffs or just kind of hanging on. So, for this year, it's 8 teams that make the playoffs. So 4 that initially play home, 4 that play away. 3 of those home teams will be the winners of their conferences, so the top Aussie, South African, and New Zealand teams, plus the next best team on points. And then the 4 away teams will be the 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th teams, just ranked on points alone outside the conference system. So, at the moment, that team in 8th is the Bulls. They're on 19 points. So this is the chasing pack from the Sharks in 9th down through to the Sunwolves in 15th. It's the bottom half of the board. And it's kind of an interesting question to see just how far are these guys away and what do they need to do to kind of pip the Bulls or whoever else is in 8th for that final playoff spot. For this one, I've given the Bulls an end of season total of 38 points. So that's just double what they've got at the moment. But I had a look at their schedule and did a quick kind of in my head prediction and came out with about the same number. So it might, who knows really, it's just a guesstimate. They might go ahead and put on 40 plus. They might have a poor run and put on less. But it's just a good number to work with to see what teams might have to do to try and get into that playoff picture. So we'll start at the bottom. The Sunwolves, who are on 2 points with just two losing bonus points. So they are 17 points behind the Bulls with 8 games in hand. So in order to get kind of ahead of where the Bulls are at 38 points, and remember, my maths is not my strongest suit, but I'm pretty confident. Although, if I made mistakes, feel free to let me know. I think the Sunwolves need an average of 4.5 points per game to beat the Bulls to that 38-point mark, which means not only winning all their games, but winning at least a few of them with a bonus point. So, as a surprise to nobody, you can pretty much write the Sunwolves off from the playoffs this year. They're pretty much just trying to get any win before the end of the season kind of shuts on them without getting a win. Into the teams who may actually have a chance, we'll look at the Blues. So they're on 12 points with 8 games in hand. So they're 7 points behind the Bulls in 8th. They need about 3.2 points a game. So it means winning about 80% of their games. They can probably afford to drop 1 if they've got 8 games. But the Blues can't even get near 50%, let alone 80%. So also, I think for the Blues, it's just another season where they didn't do much. And they'll just be trying to save as much face as possible between now and the end. For the Reds, they're on 13 points, also have 8 games in hand, so they're 6 points behind the Bulls. Slightly different from the Blues, really. 3.1 points per game, so it's only a marginal percentage difference. They still need to win the majority of their games going forward to have any chance of kind of getting into a playoff spot. On current form, seems pretty unlikely. They did have a 3-game winning streak, but since then it's all been downhill. So, one would expect not much doing for the Reds. For the Stormers, so they're on 14 points. Crucially, though, they only have 7 games in hand. So they're 5 points behind the Bulls, who have a game in hand on them. 3.4 points per game. So that's even more than the Blues. We're looking at 85% success rate. The Stormers haven't won an away game yet. They've still got a pretty tough schedule going forward. It seems really unlikely that they'll get up and get near that number. Their home record's fine, but their away form's killing them. And yeah, the schedule and injuries aren't helping, but yeah, that's where it is for the Stormers. It looks to be another pretty disappointing season. Well, when I say another, I mean the last few seasons have been disappointing because they've gone out in first round of the playoffs, but not even going to get there by the looks of things this season. Brumby is another team who were in the playoffs last year. 15 points, 8 games in hand, 4 points behind the Bulls. So a more manageable 2.9 points per game. It's still kind of, you have to win. You can't afford to drop many games. And kind of like the teams below them, the Brumbies haven't been looking hot. They've dropped a couple at home. They've still got a bunch of Kiwi teams to play. You got to think it's going to be difficult because, the Bulls have already got their tour out of the way. And they've got a game against the Sunwolves as well. So, yeah, you got to think the Bulls are in a pretty confident position against them. For the Jaguares, 16 points they're on. So 7 games in hand, 3 points behind. But it's that having played one more game, which costs them a bit. So they're going to need 3.1 points per game. So similar as the Reds. Seems pretty hard, but they're on a 2-game streak. If they can pick up some points in New Zealand, you never know. But they'll definitely have to be on form between now and the end of the season. And lastly, the Sharks. So they're on 18 points, so only 1 point behind the Bulls. Only 7 games in hand, though, so that 1 game extra played. 2.8 points per game. By the way, when I'm saying need to win 80%, I'm not taking bonus points into consideration. I'm just saying, if 4 points for a win, you need to get those wins. So 2.8 for the Sharks. Again, it doesn't leave you many games to drop. But, yeah, what could be crucial to these numbers if these teams go ahead and beat the Bulls or whoever it is in that 8th spot. If you take points off them, then, for example, that could drop the Bulls down to 34. So it's kind of like an 8-point swing. But that's just based on Bulls getting 38, what these teams need to average to make sure they're equal or above that. And it doesn't look pretty for a lot of the teams, to be fair. Like, I don't know where you draw the line as to which teams you write off. But none of these teams on current form look like going and getting kind of a 70% success rate. And that's probably what a lot of them need. But, rugby's a funny game. A bunch of home games can lead to a bit of a streak. A game against the Sunwolves at the moment, anyway, is always a shot in the arm. Potential 5 points, which puts these numbers kind of out of kilter. But yeah, I just thought it was interesting to have a look at the halfway point, where everyone was at, and just who we can expect to be challenging. You'd have to think the Sharks. With their current squad, they should be able to. The Jaguares, they've got the squad, they've got the current form, but they've got a tough run. Not sure about the others. Anyway, that's it from me. Let me know who you guys think may challenge for a playoff spot going forward. Do you think the Bulls are going to get anywhere near 38 points, or perhaps teams above them? The Rebels are another one who may be in danger of slumping a bit and maybe not also getting 38 points. I just took the Bulls because they're the lowest of the playoff teams at the minute, but they're probably in better form than some of the teams above them. All right, yeah, like I said, that's it from me, and talk to you again another time. See ya.